What's happening, YouTube? I'm Transient. Welcome to my channel. As always, we are playing Watcher of Realms. Guys, I hope you're well. Where do we find ourselves today? It is Wednesday, I believe. It is Wednesday. Wednesday. So, middle of the week. And as usual on Wednesdays, what I just try to do is have a look at what banner is coming this weekend and then determine if you should summon. So, what have we got? Hold on. I'm just currently picking up my free-to-play rewards. Ooh, a divine. Very nice. And some stuff. Okay, so let's have a look. We've obviously come from a pretty big period where we had the introduction of Pierre and so on and so forth, and then we also had last weekend Nazar, who I did not get again. Anyway, so this weekend looks like a quiet weekend for once. So you got the normal standard crazy of Invocation of Spirits, 2x, which everyone should be ignoring unless you're brand new to the game. Ditto with Creative Divine Summoning, but if you're brand new to the game, you probably won't get very many divines at all. Okay, so the main piece for your rares and your divines is a banner of Nisande, Nazim, Maul, Lyra, and Valkyria. Okay, so Nisande, yep, useful early on in the game. She's got cleanse, and that's basically her main gimmick, really. Because for a while, the only cleanser really in the game was Elohim, but once they started adding new ones, they buffed her and gave her a cleanse. So yeah, she does have a cleanse, so she is useful very, very early on in the game before you start getting all the other Legos. Nazim is useful mainly from one place really, which is Titanic Ruins. His ability to stun before you can get people like Helga or Wukong or other people who stun, who are Lego. He does put out a huge amount of stuns, and he's an epic. So yeah, he's very useful very early on in the game, or at least when you first start approaching Titanic Ruins, and if you do not have the main stunners in the game. Maul, he is very, very useful early on and to mid-game. He can, especially for example, Gear 3 on the left. Hell, he can be useful in Gear 2 as the main damage dealer for clearing out those. What are they called? The rock throwers. Either way, he's pretty useful there, and obviously in Gear 3 on the left-hand side, all the way up until 321. I think he can be used on the left-hand side. Yeah, he's actually very, very good. So if you first start this game and you need an AoE marksman, he is useful, very useful. So you shouldn't feel too annoyed if you get him very early on in the game. Okay, let's move on to the big stuff. Lyra, great single target magic damage. Yeah, she's good, really good. Lots of damage. If you get her early on in the game, useful and stuff, but she kind of falls off pretty early. I don't think she's not really that. She's not that useful afterwards. And then obviously you've got Valkyria. Valkyria is brilliant. I mean, she's absolutely brilliant. She has some very, very cool things. Once you get an A1, her range gets extended. She's also able to revive one time anyone who dies right in front of her, which is very, very useful for your tank if your tank is not doesn't have unyielding, for example, and you're early on in the game, she's very, very good. She's useful in lots of places, but a lot of the time, once you get her to A1, what people would use her for a lot of the time would be the top lane on Gear Dungeon 1. But she's still useful in lots of other places. Now, the thing is, for most people, I would say apart from anyone who's brand new to the game, where you should pretty much just summon whenever you can summon. Whenever you have enough diamonds and rares to summon, just summon away. But anyone who's been playing this game for any period of time will either one, already have Valkyria since she's OG, or Lyra, even though she's more recent hero. But even if you don't, because this game has now been around for 2 years or so, 2 and a bit years or so, there are a large amount of Legos now, a huge amount of Legos. So you gotta ask yourself, okay, there's a huge amount of Legos. What specifically is it that I need? Now, Lyra, single target magic damage, there's lots of them now. And with Valkyria, she is AoE magic damage, but she's not platform, whereas thing is, so there are lots of heroes now who can take on her position. And if you were, for example, lucky enough very recently to have picked up Rosalia outshines Valkyria in everything apart from hitting air, because she cannot hit air, whereas Valkyria in her ultimate can. But Rosalia does a huge amount of damage, and she's got that pushback, and she's got that ridiculous range. So if you were lucky enough to get Rosalia, would you even need to get Valkyria if you didn't have her? So basically the point I'm just trying to make is, because there's so many choices now, even if you're fairly early in the game or mid-game, you can it's almost like you can afford, is that the best way to phrase it? Not necessarily afford. It probably pays to be more picky with your selections, because some of these heroes are so powerful now, and I think this era of increasingly powerful heroes who was the biggest interest? I'm just trying to think, because obviously every time a new hero comes out, they can be really good and so on, but I think once Wukong turned up, did Wukong come before Kagiri? I think Wukong came before Kagiri. But from Wukong, some heroes that have been introduced into this game they are so powerful that it almost doesn't make sense to waste your summons on a hero like Valkyria. That's not to say that Valkyria isn't good. It's more that Valkyria is the kind of hero now where you don't summon for her, you just wait, because you will get her off banner somehow, some way. So she's just not that crucial for you to go, I'm gonna use my rares or my divines to summon for Valkyria. The heroes that basically one should really be looking at are Airless as healer, Nazar as obviously Nazar. Then, and these are non-limiteds. Then you could say, then let's have a look. Okay, let's go to the gallery. So, all right, let's have a look. If I do, I can't do that. All right, okay, so like I've said, Airless and Nazar. Then on the Cultist, not Cultist, I don't want Cultist yet. And then Esoterra, you would want, if you're going to have this summon for them, that's her name, Nerissa, definitely you would summon. And these are heroes that are not limited. Then let's see, and I'm not talking about ancients either. Okay, then you would probably say, and this is Esoterra. Okay, we'll leave them there. Okay, then star piercers, you would have Silas and Hex, who are not limited. Yeah, but even though Hex nowadays, he's still ridiculously powerful, but he's not like in any of the major teams anywhere. But you could still say that, especially early on, if he comes, you might as well try and summon for him. So an Infernal Blast, there's literally, other, I said Hex, then you could say Lord Phineas, because of if you're trying to improve your Matrix, no, not Matrix, Abyss, your Abyss scores if you're using a particular comp. Then nope, and then no one else. Right, and the Curse team, because we've just had it, you would have Beelzebub, because he's brilliant. In fact, he's amazing. Even Magda to a certain extent now. Then Valise and Rosalia. Those guys you would have to summon. And obviously, like I said, this is rares, non-limited, non-ancients. Nightmare, you would have, literally, nope. Anyone who's not limited, you could say Hatter, even though there's options now. For example, Ruin Hollow has taken. You could say if you had Ruin Hollow, you wouldn't need Hatter, but she's still pretty useful. Right, Northerners. Let's see. Yeah, Airless is absolutely, she's crucial. Let's see. Anyone else? Draylen. Airless, Draylen. Non-ancients. Yep, there. Right, Watchguard. Let's see. Who? Non-ancients. Yeah, you could say Talon, but she's kind of one that you could get off banner. Draylen really is it. Then let's go down to, Chaos and Arbiters are obviously ancient exclusives. So basically, other than those guys, really, I mean, there might be some that I've missed just because I'm speeding through it. You kind of like, almost, you don't really, you want to kind of save as many summons as you can and aim for those heroes. Now, obviously, when Limiters comes around, then you're obviously going for your Wukong, your Kagiri, and then you would have, after that, obviously Diao Chan, but she's been run so often now that everyone should have at least a one. Even Gwendolyn now is pretty useful. Moradin, Anora, but the problem with Anora and Moradin is they're bonded, and so you would probably want to get their bond mates who are harder to get because they're ancient exclusives. So anyway, now let me bring it back to what I was saying. So for most people, 99% of us, we've probably, if you've been playing long enough, you already have the zeros. But if you do not, it is probably not worth summoning on these banners at all. You have seen the weekend we've come from, where they had Nazar, who is on there, and Beelzebub. Those two heroes are ridiculous, and they're 10 times more valuable than Valkyria and Lyra. And then the weekend before, Rosalia, Pierre, Ezreath. All three of them are ridiculous in comparison to these two. Having come from those banners, you can't look at this and go, oh yeah, this is going to be a great weekend to summon. It isn't. Skip it, move on, and think about what is going to come next, and be planning your summons around the big summoning weekends. If you have, as long as you've got 200, try to be saving up to 200, if even 300, and then once you're at that position, or let's say you've got that in diamonds, then maybe you can throw a few as a random banner for a hero that you thought, oh, okay, that might be useful. But reality, the way this game now works is you save everything as much as possible for the big ones, and they keep throwing them out there. and it also pays to pay attention to the videos that content creators put out for brand new heroes, where they test them and they can at least give you a good idea as to whether they're useful. Now, a lot of the time they can be quite wrong. When I say that, is their initial testing can only go so far. It's only later on, once everyone gets these heroes, and whether you've invested or not, and then everyone finds out, oh, wait a minute, this guy is ridiculous. For example, Dracula. I don't have him on my free-to-play account, but when he first came out, granted, they did buff him a little bit. No one was that bothered. Now he's literally everywhere. Let's see, especially in PvP, AoE Arena, and so on and so forth. So let's see, if we go to, right, what are we? AoE Arena. Obviously, I don't really do Arena much on my free-to-play account, but if you did, you would see that he is absolutely all over the place. Let's see, rank, I don't know, can we see? Leaderboard, there we go. Right. Let's see, there he is. Anti-air and single target. I mean, he's not even a really a single target fighter, but he is now in anti-air and single target. Anti-air, single target. He's everywhere in GVG as a hard counter for the grotesque. But yeah, Dracula. And the thing is, at the time, most people went, okay, we'll get one, okay, maybe 2 copies. Now he's so useful that people are throwing soul stones into him, because it's likely that he may never come back, or he might, we don't know, but I'm working under the impression that he may not come back. So once again, you need to skip this weekend and just start planning. Assume there's going to be a big weekend coming. Now, the next one, likely, what we believe, is something to do with Chinese New Year, even though I'm sure Chinese New Year is currently on. But either way, the hero Guan Yu, who is related to Diao Chan and Lu Bu, he's supposed to be a fantastic new hero that everyone's going to need to have, because I think he's going to be very useful in Matrix. Then obviously we've got the new Lords come in, the new Infernal Lord. So basically, plan for the big ones, and if something special comes out, for example, they throw an airless banner in, then you can just throw a few to try and get your airless. Other than that, just save, and skip all the other stuff, because a lot of those heroes, you'll get them off banner, and you need to aim for the ones who are needle pushers. Anyway, I do not want to waste any more of your time. This went on way longer than necessary. All right, guys, whatever you do, do it well. I am Transient, and I am out.